Hi, girls. So I gave you an assignment which was simple. Tell me who you think is the greatest soccer player of all time and why. And you guys absolutely crushed this assignment. All in all, I was thrilled with your responses and how you went about trying to answer the question. You know, if you did this just at the lowest level, you would probably talk only about Messi and Ronaldo. I mean, they're definitely great players, and they have consumed everyone's attention on the men's side for almost the last decade, which is incredible. If you talk about greatness in soccer, so I think that the most basic and easiest way to cover that subject is to simply talk about someone who plays at a higher level. Easy, right? Because great players, that's what they do. That's part of what makes them great. So there's a talent or capacity component to it. But that can't be it, because the most talented player of all time ever might very well be a guy named George Best. This one.
It was like the passage of a shooting star. George Best's genius on a football field shone brilliantly for some years, and when it faded, left us with those amazing memories.
George Best was a diamond. There was a little flaw there.
He was such an unbelievably gifted player. He had a quality and he had a control that really was unparalleled, really.
Self-belief.
He had the most fun playing football.
George was totally nerveless.
He was going out onto a pitch in front of 100,000 people as if he was going out on the street to play in the streets of Belfast.
He could evade the most vicious of tackles.
He was so brave physically.
I've seen a floodlit match at Old Trafford, and he was hit a couple of times, really hard, in the hitting, and he still stood up, and he kidded the goalkeeper, who went to his right, and then he just walked round him and put the ball in the back of the net. So tough and brave.
Beautiful player. He could score from all, whatever angle, right side, left side, centre. He was just a marvellous player.
I always felt like an entertainer out there, and I knew I could get the crowd excited by doing little things like that and trying things differently. You know, if I was playing against a player in particular who was giving me a hard time, who was getting stuck in, you know, I would stand on the ball and ask him to come and get it off me, and the crowd went crazy, and I loved it. You know, it was great. To me, it was pure theatre. I did it on purpose because I knew it got the crowd excited.
George Best is idolised still by many people in Northern Ireland.
Whether George was playing for Manchester United or Northern Ireland, the goals and the admirers kept coming. George Best's star was rising along with the talented Manchester United team that Matt Busby had put together. They were
to him. He could turn on a sixpence. He had an unbelievable vision. He could tell everything that was happening around. He knew exactly where people were, and that gave him all the time that he needed to actually express himself.
And so while he was obviously an incredibly talented player, he was also a terrible professional. And he had some real demons that kept him from playing at the very top.
Lisbon, March 1966, George announced his astonishing talents to an international audience. His performance demolished the great Benfica in a 5-1 win, scoring 2 early goals for United. The Portuguese press were so amazed that they called him El Beetle.
Coming back in the plane, he had this sombrero, and I'm the fellow who said to him, "Take it off your head. Take it off your head. Great players don't need gimmicks." And the rest, "Leave him alone." I said, "Take it off your head."
But it was too late to slow George's life down. No way to control the shooting star.
Walking down the
Old Trafford, George was missing training on a regular basis.
I was the one that could have done more. But having said that, I didn't have the experience to do any more. You know, it started going wrong when I was 23, 24. I was still only a kid. I didn't know what was going wrong.
Alcohol tightened its grip.
You think, well...
The problems mounted up for the superstar. Bankruptcy, prison for drink driving. But at the root of everything was alcoholism.
A thing of beauty, and we didn't get it all. And he didn't get it all either.
I know that at the end of it all,
all of this started from a conversation that Mansour and I had after one of the practices for the Big Sisters. And I just asked him, I said, Mansour, who do you think is the greatest player of all time? And he just, I won't lie, like I was completely caught off guard by his answer. It's a great answer. But he said that the greatest player of all time is Franz Beckenbauer. This guy.
No one ever got past Franz.
You'd have to say he was the perfect player.
He never wanted to lose.
The most important thing that he had was he had a fantastic vision. This young lad just took it on the right-hand side of the field. He did a little 1-2, passed the ball, and he was through completely, and there's the goalkeeper come out, just slipped it past him. A little wave of recognition.
Decisive goal past the legendary Lev Yashin. A 2-1 win, and West Germany were in the final, where they would meet the hosts, England.
There was a journalist from Munich who was always looking for new nicknames. There were kings and princes, there was everything, but there was only one Kaiser. He was the best, so there was no other name for him.
Der Kaiser was given the captain's armband for the 68-69 season, the same year that he led Bayern to the Bundesliga title and won the German Footballer of the Year award. Such was his mastery of the defensive role, he even introduced a new position to football, the libero.
Franz Beckenbauer was the first player to interpret this position in a modern way, score goals from this position, and develop the game from defence. He discovered this.
Beckenbauer was earning a fearsome reputation, not only amongst his opponents, but his teammates too.
I never heard anyone criticise him in my whole life, both on the pitch or off it.
Someone tried once. Charlie Bosco tried to nutmeg him twice. And then he was in the hospital. Franz kicked him so hard that he had to go to hospital for his injuries.
When I asked Mansour why Beckenbauer, why is he the greatest, he didn't talk much about his level or his ability, although obviously Beckenbauer was a great player. Instead, Mansour talked about the Kaiser's impact on the team, his leadership, his understanding of the game, and the fact that it was like having a second coach on the field.
Showdown with rivals East Germany.
It was a huge disaster, especially against East Germany. It was political back then. The war was still there, and it was one of the first matches between the Bundesrepublik and the DDR, and to lose to them was fatal.
After the 1-0 loss to the former East Germany, there was chaos in West Germany, and we all thought we were on a slippery slope.
I was the captain, and it was my duty. The captain's armband has a meaning and a value, which is that you're the right-hand man to the coach, and this was the first time that I had to play this role.
With Beckenbauer effectively taking control away from coach Schön, the West Germans managed to beat Yugoslavia 2-0 in the second group stage. They then put 4 goals past the Swedish in a 6-goal thriller. The final group match was against Poland, with a win needed to reach the final. Gerd Müller popped up for the only goal, and West Germany were through to face the Dutch. The final would be at the Olympic Stadium, the home of Bayern Munich and Beckenbauer. The West German team had grown in confidence thanks to the strong guidance of their captain.
We got better with every game, and in the final, we went in on equal terms with the Dutch. They had started the tournament as favourites and played at a very high standard from the beginning. Then, as I said, we were equal going into the final.
Another huge test for Captain Beckenbauer awaited.
Johan Cruyff on the right here during the walkout for the captains is actually Mansour's second choice for the greatest player ever.
How would the West Germans cope with Johan Cruyff and Holland's total football? They hadn't even touched the ball when Holland won a penalty, which Johan Neeskens converted. But West Germany fought back and won a penalty of their own.
I wanted to be world champion. Happy.
Then, just before half-time, a chance for the lead. Beckenbauer and his team had won the ultimate prize, the World Cup. Beckenbauer made the move across the Atlantic and signed up for the New York Cosmos. On the pitch, Beckenbauer won 3 NASL titles in his time with the New York Cosmos, and along with Pelé, helped raise the popularity of soccer in the States.
I was lucky enough to play alongside him. He went to Cosmos, so did I. We became champions together. We played against each other for 15 years, but for the last 2 years, we played alongside each other in the New York Cosmos.
Clear that De Keyser's career was winding down. But it had been some career, lasting almost 20 years, spanning 2 continents and winning every possible honour. But even the playing days of Franz Beckenbauer had to come to an end.
In 1970, he played the semi-final of the World Cup with a dislocated shoulder.
De Keyser couldn't leave the game he loved so much, taking over the reins as West German manager in 1984. And in 1990, he reached the pinnacle once more, winning yet another World Cup, Andreas Bremer scoring the only goal in the final. These days he remains...
So there you have the answer from Mansour. The greatest ever is Franz Beckenbauer, the man who won the World Cup both as player and manager, something that is incredibly difficult to do. I also asked Mansour who was better, or greater, Messi or Ronaldo. Mansour replied that Messi's greatness is due to his talent, while Ronaldo's greatness is mainly due to his work ethic. First of all, I think Messi, hands down, is just more talented. Anyone who disagrees, I'm going to tell them that they're wrong.
Messi. Oh, brilliant skill from Lionel Messi. Surging forward with real menace here. Brilliant from Messi. Oh, what a goal that is! And the whole of this ground stands and applauds the 19-year-old. Have you seen a better goal than that anywhere this season?
He is more talented than Ronaldo. But don't kid yourself, Ronaldo's still incredible.
Ronaldo turns into trouble. Brilliant footwork. And then... Here he comes. Oh my word! Can you believe the genius of this man? What a hit! David James stood like a statue.
Now Ronaldo. Long way out. What a goal! Not too far out for him. On a night when Manchester United had to score, they have scored inside 6 minutes. It's the player from...
And then Ronaldo! Oh! What a goal by Cristiano Ronaldo!
Ronaldo is a great talent when it comes to soccer, but his greatest talent of all is probably actually his work ethic. He has literally outworked everyone in the world. My favorite player on the women's side is Kelly O'Hara, this player. Kelly plays right back for the U.S. national team, which makes her a really good player, but honestly, she doesn't have a claim to being the greatest. In fact, she isn't even the best right back in the world. The greatest right back in world soccer is Lucy Bronze from England. My second favorite player is Becky Sauerbrunn, center back for the national team. Becky actually has a greater claim to greatness than either Lucy or Kelly O'Hara. I think she plays the position of center back at the highest level of anyone in the game, male or female. She's that good. And, here's the other piece of it. The U.S. national team has won 2 World Cups in a row, which is so unbelievably difficult to do. I don't think the national team gets that done without Becky at center back. She's that important to the team. Center back is not a glorious position. There's not a whole lot of recognition given to it at any level, but it is always going to be part of the backbone of any successful team. So Becky gets my vote for number 2. And as she proves here, there's more to her than just being a defender. Like all of the greats, Becky can play. This is Jessica McDonald, a forward for the national team. One of the best players anywhere. But also, if we're honest, there are at least 5 Americans that are better at her at playing soccer. Here's the thing, though. She had one of the most difficult routes I have ever heard of in terms of making it to the very top. Here's a picture of her celebrating with her son. You can better believe there's greatness in her personal triumph. So there's greatness in Jessica McDonald's triumph over adversity. There's greatness in Messi's talent, greatness in Ronaldo's work ethic. You can find some of it also in Becky and Kelly O'Hara and a whole bunch of other players as well. But that leaves the question, who is the greatest? So here's my answer. It's this lady, Michelle Akers. I think she's the greatest soccer player of all time, male or female. She had absolutely everything as a player. Pace, power, technique, vision. She had it all. She was listed as one of the top 100 players by FIFA, male or female. So in other words, she was good enough to start on a men's team, period. But this picture here is really the reason why I think she's great. She honestly probably should have been in a hospital. Instead, she was trying to become better. The full story behind it, it's out there. I encourage you to go look for it and chase your own greatness too.